Imagine sitting in a dark theater, the only light coming from the screen, your heart pounding so hard you can hear it in your ears, and even though you know it's just a movie, your brain is reacting as if something in that room is about to kill you. That gap between knowing you're safe and feeling like you're not is exactly where horror movies live, and it reveals a shocking amount about how your fear circuits actually work. Horror isn't just about ghosts, slashers, and monsters. It's about a very real, very ancient system in your brain getting hijacked for entertainment. Start with that jolt you feel during a jump scare. A door slams, a figure appears behind the character, the music hits a sharp note, and your whole body reacts instantly. The first player on the scene is your amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure buried deep in your brain that acts like a threat detector. It does not wait for a detailed explanation. It doesn't care that you bought a ticket, sat down in a comfy chair, and have popcorn in your hand. The amygdala's only job is to ask, is there even a chance this could be dangerous? If the answer might be yes, it hits the alarm. As soon as that alarm is triggered, the signal spreads. Your hypothalamus and brainstem pass the message down to your body, and now the classic fight-or-flight response is in motion. Your adrenal glands dump stress hormones into your bloodstream. Your heart rate shoots up, your lungs pull in more air, your pupils widen to catch more light. Your muscles tense as if you're about to sprint or throw a punch. Rationally, you're in a safe place, but biologically, your body is preparing to fight for its life. Horror movies are basically engineers of this response. Long, quiet tracking shots, footsteps echoing in an empty hallway, the camera slowly closing in on a door that you just know shouldn't be opened. These moments wind your nervous system up like a spring. Your brain starts scanning for any clue that something bad is about to happen. Then, right at the peak of tension, the scare hits. The monster lunges, the body falls from the ceiling, the mirror reveals a face that wasn't there before. The emotional spring snaps, and your fear response fires at full strength. Inside your head, this is not just one region flickering on and off. When neuroscientists put people into brain scanners and let them watch horror, they see entire networks coming online in sync. The amygdala is active, sure, but so are areas that handle internal bodily sensations, conflict, pain, and visual detail. It's like a survival orchestra, and the movie is the conductor. Your visual system is taking in shadows, flickers, and sudden movement. Your auditory system is decoding distant creaks, whispers, and musical cues. Your emotional circuits are weighing all of that and leaning hard toward something is wrong. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not all fear on screen looks the same inside your brain. Think about two different horror moments. In one, a character walks down a dark basement staircase. Flashlight shaking, barely any sound except breathing and the occasional drip of water. Nothing jumps out yet, but you feel that crawling sense of dread building. That's anticipatory fear. Your attention systems and sensory areas are lit up, focusing hard on every tiny clue, any faint movement, any flicker in the corner of the frame. Your brain is essentially saying, "Get ready, something is coming." In another scene, the threat finally shows itself. The creature charges the camera, the killer appears in the doorway, or the possessed character snaps toward the viewer with inhuman speed. That's acute fear. Suddenly, the emphasis shifts deeper into instinctive survival circuits. It's less about scanning possibilities and more about reacting to an immediate threat. Your body jerks, your muscles contract, you might even shout without meaning to. The brain has moved from watching for danger to danger is here, even though it's still just pixels on a screen. Now here's the twist that horror really exposes. While all of this is happening, another part of your brain knows you're safe. Higher order regions involved in judgment and reasoning watch the same movie and quietly whisper, "Relax, This isn't real. Those regions can modulate how long the fear lasts and how intense it feels. They help put the brakes on your emotional reaction. That's why after a scare you can laugh, roll your eyes, or say, "Wow, that got me," instead of staying in panic mode. The tension between these systems, one ancient and reactive, one more modern and reflective, is at the core of what horror shows about your brain. On one side, you have fast, automatic, survival-focused circuits built to assume that ambiguous sights and sounds might be dangerous. On the other side, you have slower, deliberate systems capable of stepping back and saying, "This is a simulation." Horror movies push the survival side right up to the edge, but rely on the reflective side to keep the whole experience inside the fun zone. Of course, people vary a lot in how this internal balance plays out, and horror is a great window into those differences. Some people love being scared. They line up for every new haunted house. They watch found footage films alone at night. They seek out the goriest slashers and most disturbing psychological thrillers. These are often high sensation seekers, people whose brains are wired to crave intense stimulation. For them, the spike in heart rate and adrenaline feels exciting rather than overwhelming. The fear comes with a payoff, a rush that makes them want to do it again. Others are the complete opposite. 10 minutes into a horror movie and they're done. Heart racing too fast, skin crawling, mind spinning out worst-case scenarios. They might struggle to sleep afterward or find their thoughts drifting back to disturbing scenes at random moments. For them, the safety message from those higher-order regions doesn't land strongly enough to contain the reaction. The simulated threat bleeds into real anxiety, and the body keeps acting like danger might still be around even after the credits roll. Personality traits add another layer. People with higher empathy may be more affected by painful or traumatic scenes because they mentally put themselves in the character's position. When a character is hunted, trapped, or harmed, highly empathetic viewers don't just watch it, they feel it. On the flip side, people who are curious about dark topics, death, violence, catastrophe, are often drawn to horror because it gives them a safe way to explore those themes. They can look directly at what scares them, but inside a controlled, fictional frame. If you zoom in on how horror is constructed, you can see that filmmakers are essentially running experiments on your prediction and attention systems. The slow pan across an empty room, the slightly open closet door, the silence that goes on for just a bit too long. These techniques all feed into your brain's obsession with predicting what happens next. Your brain is a prediction machine. It constantly uses the past to guess the future. In horror, those guesses start to cluster around. Something bad is going to appear right about now. This is where fake-outs come in. A cat jumps out of the cupboard instead of the killer. The figure in the doorway turns out to be a friend. The sound upstairs is just the wind. Every time this happens, your brain has to revise its prediction. That repeated cycle of anticipate, fear, relief builds up tension while also keeping you engaged. You're not just watching the story, your nervous system is playing a guessing game the entire time. And when the real threat finally arrives, the payoff is even bigger because you've been primed over and over. The part that often gets less attention is what happens after the scare. Once the threat on screen passes, your brain has to deliberately wind the system down. Those higher-order areas begin reappraising everything. We're at home, on the couch, nothing bad happened. That was a story. Your breathing slows, your heart rate drops, your muscles loosen. That shift from high fear to safety feels good, almost like emotional stretching after a workout. For some people, that swing from terror to relief is the best part of the experience. In fact, this cycle, build tension, trigger fear, return to safety, may be one reason horror can feel strangely therapeutic for some viewers. By repeatedly stepping into fear and coming out unharmed, you practice tolerating intense emotions. You get used to feeling your heart race, your stomach drop, your skin prickle, without needing to escape the situation. It becomes a kind of emotional training ground. You're not curing anxiety with horror movies, but you are teaching your brain that it can ride out strong feelings and still be okay. Of course, this only works if the fear stays inside that controlled space. For some people, especially younger viewers or those already dealing with anxiety or trauma, the images and stories can be too much. Nightmares, intrusive thoughts, and sleep disruption are signs that the brain is having trouble closing the file labeled fiction. The threat signal keeps echoing, and the nervous system doesn't fully reset. In those cases, horror doesn't feel like a workout, it feels like an attack. Something else horror reveals about your brain is how social fear can be. Watching a scary movie alone and watching it with a group are completely different experiences. In a theater or on the couch with friends, people react together. One person jumps, another laughs, someone hides behind a pillow, and all of those reactions feed into each other. Your brain is constantly reading other people's faces, posture, and tone. When everyone around you is tense, you feel it. When everyone bursts out laughing after a scare, you relax faster. Under the surface, there's evidence that people's brains literally synchronize when they watch the same movie. Similar areas light up at the same moments, driven by the same visuals and sounds. With horror, that means a whole room full of brains can be locked into the same fear rhythm. Hearts rising together, tension peaking together, relief washing over everyone at the same time. That shared ride amplifies everything. Fear feels sharper. Relief feels bigger. And the memory of the experience sticks more deeply because it's social as well as emotional. Step back and look at the whole picture, and horror movies turn into a kind of mirror for the fear response. They show how quickly your ancient survival circuits can override logic. They reveal how powerfully context, like sitting in a theater versus walking alone at night, can shape whether your brain treats something as a real threat. They highlight the role of personality, curiosity, and sensation-seeking in deciding who leans in and who looks away. They even hint at how fear, under the right circumstances, can be reshaped into excitement and used to build emotional resilience. So the next time you feel your heart hammering during a horror movie, don't just think, "This is scary." Think, "This is my brain running a full-scale survival simulation for fun." The shadows on the screen, the jump scares, the creepy music, they're all inputs into a system that evolved to keep you alive in a world full of real predators and dangers. The theater, the sofa, the streaming app. That's the modern twist, the safe container that lets you flirt with terror without paying the real-world cost. In that space between real danger and imagined threat, horror movies do something remarkable. They pull back the curtain on how your brain detects risk, reacts to uncertainty, manages adrenaline, and negotiates the line between panic and thrill. They turn your fear circuitry into a playground, and as strange as it sounds, every time you press play on a scary movie, you're not just watching a story about fear. You're watching your own brain reveal what it was built to do. In the end, horror movies aren't just trying to scare you. They're exposing how your brain keeps you alive. Every jump scare, every creeping shadow, every heartbeat in the dark is your ancient survival system spinning up, then standing down once you remember you're safe. That dance between panic and relief, terror and thrill, is the real star of the show. If this video made you see your own reactions in a new light, remember, the next time you flinch at a horror scene, it's not just the movie doing its job, it's your brain proving it still works. If this video opened your eyes to what horror movies are really doing inside your brain, don't let it stop here. Hit that like button so more people can finally understand why they scream. and still come back for more. Drop a comment telling which horror scene triggered your biggest jump scare ever and why you think you secretly enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe, and get ready, because this is just the beginning of understanding your brain's darkest thrills.